What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and we're back with another tune from the Offspring. I've reacted to a couple tracks from Ignition, I think my favorite album from them. I don't know their work all that extensively. The two albums, Ignition and Smash, are the ones I'm really familiar with. I did hear their self-titled album, I think it was on a different label before that, and I think they were like a band as early as like the mid-80s, like 84 or something like that. I think the first album is 89. Ignition was 92, and then this Smash, their sort of major hit, you can see the front up there. But yeah, I think this is 94. I think, yeah, so if 94, I think this came out when I was in junior high. Bottom line, I'm trying to think if it was maybe 8th grade. I graduated high school in 99, so I guess it would be 8th grade. Either way, I remember, the album made a huge impact on the music world, sort of brought like punk rock more into the mainstream, like, cultural eye. It's an album I don't enjoy quite as much as Ignition, but I do think it's really good, and I think it's more than just its reputation through a couple of its big hits. Although again, we are going to listen to one of the hits. We're going to listen to a tune called Self-Esteem. Many of you will know this. And normally when I talk about a tune that I've known for a long time, I speak about the lyrics for a minute or two from sort of a conceptual or like analytical point of view. In this case, I think it'll be more illuminating. I have talked about this song in a couple other reactions, and eventually it was inevitable that I had to react to it. The reason I say it that way is even if some of the beats in terms of maybe the attitude or like the psycho-emotional atmosphere is a little bit different, I essentially lived this song my senior year in high school. I'll be concise, but what I mean by that is my junior year I started dating what was like my first like serious girlfriend, meaning like first like fully sexual girlfriend. And that relationship came to an end during the summer between junior and senior year. And then like we stayed in touch, and ultimately as senior year began, we were like officially not dating, but we were still sleeping together. And at first I was like, I was a bit bummed out because, I was like genuinely into this girl. And there's the story will take a few different turns along the way. But bottom line, I think this is a story that's more about being kind of young, naive, and very like emotional as much as anything else. But bottom line, senior year started, we were still sleeping together, but we weren't officially together. That was basically fine, even if I felt like a bit in limbo. I felt, a little unsure of where I stood and whatever. But she eventually starts seeing this other guy who I didn't really know. We weren't like friends, but we were acquaintances because we were in a class together junior year, and we used to like joke around a little bit. So yeah, so she starts seeing him officially, like, in public at school. But on the weekends, or even sometimes on the weeknights, she still would call me and come over, and inevitably we would sleep together. And I started to pick up on what was happening. I was like, so she still kind of enjoys being with me, she still enjoys a physical relationship with me, but she kind of wants to, see what else is out there and whatever. And I felt like, look, if you want to break it off with me, then do it. So I tried to like tell her this on multiple occasions that like, look, I can't keep doing this, like, especially because like then I see you at school and I'm supposed to just like, hey, how's it going? Like she would still be friendly, but she wouldn't, she wouldn't like kiss me at school or anything. Like it was suddenly a different vibe that it had been the year before. So like in public, I'm just like one of her friends now, but we still sleep together, and I don't know what her new boyfriend knows. Like, is she tell him that we still have a relationship? I don't know. So like I was in this really weird place, but I didn't want to make waves. I didn't want to like cause problems for her or for me or for I mean, we went to a private high school. Like, if waves were really made, it could have been like a serious problem where, like, maybe we could have gotten kicked out of school or whatever. I don't know. But either way, I didn't want to like make more of an issue, so I didn't tell anybody. So basically, this persisted for months. And the sense that I had is like, I have to cut this off. I have to, I can't keep letting her like use me for like physical fun, but then on Friday or Saturday night, like she's not there until like 2 or 3 in the morning. And that's one of the differences in the song, is that, it sounds like whether it's Dexter, speaking from his own experience, or, speaking in like a character's voice, not necessarily him per se, but just someone who is having this happen to them. In his story, he's getting stood up. It's like, hey, he's making plans with this person, but then she's ultimately making other choices, and then maybe only at the end of the night, 3 in the morning, she stumbles by, like, drunk, and they end up sleeping together and whatever. For me, it was more like she didn't like flake on me. She didn't like stand me up or anything, but it was just like suddenly like it was understood that we weren't going to hang out on the weekends, except again she'd call me at like 2 in the morning like, hey, can I come over for a little bit? And like, again, I should have just said no. It's like, no, you know what, I'm not going to do it this time. Like, so, but like, again, I'm still sort of in love. I'm a teenager, you know, it's the first kind of relationship like that I've had, so I don't want to just like, you know, blow it up if it's still, there's a possibility that it can be resurrected. So I just kept like, sure, I guess you can come over, but you know, let's just watch a movie, like whatever. And then again, inevitably we'd end up sleeping together. So I was like caught in that loop for a long time. Well, what got me out of the loop is I eventually, this other girl at school who it was actually like friends with this girl that I had been dating, although like no one else knew that this was happening. Basically, eventually I confided to a few people, but bottom line, also just to explain, the girlfriend in question, she eventually had some like mental health issues that she realized like she had undiagnosed. And I think like part of what was going on during that time is she was like sort of dealing with that, but didn't really, again, it wasn't diagnosed, so it wasn't something that like she was getting treatment for. So I think there were a whole bunch of factors going on. So the story wasn't in any way meant to be like, oh, can you believe she did that to me? It was just like, this is something that I went through, these are the conditions for it, and it's very much like this song. So yeah, I know what it's like to have this like crazy like, I can't publicly be with this person, but they're still kind of taking advantage of me physically, and ultimately, do I even hate that? Am I sort of like caught in this loop because I like the abuse? I would ask myself questions like that. And it's funny, I already knew this song at this point. I heard this album in junior high, so it took a little while to dawn on me like that I was living the song. But by the time I like graduated school, and it had changed because again this other girl came into my life, took my attention away, which eventually made like a rupture, because like the first girlfriend was still like, no, what are you doing? Like, we still have something. It was like, well, look, I think like, this has been asymmetrical for a while. I'm interested in this. I have to find out what, is going to happen. So that's it. So that kind of changed the dynamic. Now, long story short, I did eventually date this woman again, the first girlfriend. But at that point, it was a much more like mature, symmetrical, and like legit relationship that lasted for a few years. Eventually, it fizzled out again, but in that case, it was like legit mutual. And we remained in touch for many years after that. I haven't talked to her in a long time now, but bottom line, there's sort of a happy ending to it. But yeah, I know what it's like to live this song, so I do apologize for the long intro. Like I said, I normally just talk about the themes a little bit, but in this case, like, again, once I started realizing what had been happening, by the time you get to, again, like 99, 2000, it was sort of like, holy shit, dude, that song Self-Esteem, like, I'd been living that. I didn't even realize, whatever. So, in any case, let's get it. This is Offspring, Self-Esteem, from their 1994 album Smash. I think that was like a second in. Sorry. Definitely can do the shout sing thing very well.
We make plans, go out at night. I wait till 2, then I turn out the light.
That is a heartbreaking line.
This rejection got me so low.
She keeps it up. I just want to tell her so. Again, a little different in my case. But I really think it's better this way. I can't tell you, like the heartbreaking nature of that line. Because that's what it was like. Well, shit, like, you know, she knows how much because, like, otherwise I wouldn't put up with this, would I?
I'll relate this little bit. It happens more than I'd like to admit. Late at night, she knocks on my door. She's drunk again and looking to score. No, I know I should say no, but it's kinda hard when she's ready to go. I may be dumb, I'm not a dweeb. I'm just a sucker with no self-esteem. Oh, hey,
It's like the unabashed, like, heartbreaking vulnerability of the song. Again, I don't want to make waves. I'll just deal with it. Yeah, again, it's a really cool tune. It's iconic. Again, it has sort of like an aggressive sound, but there's like a real like tragedy and sadness to it, and especially several of the lines that, like, you know, she keeps it up. I just might tell her, you know, I just might tell her how annoyed and, you know, upset at this I am. And it's like, you know what, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna, you know, it's better this way. I should just not really cause any problems. I should just, you know, continue to acquiesce to the situation. So yeah, number one, I think it's a really well written song, if very painful. Number two, again, you know, I don't normally go on personal anecdotes for that length in time, so I do apologize, but, you know, more than like any other punk rock song I can think of, like, it's a song that, like, once I realized it, again, it took me a while to, like, holy shit, like, the self-esteem song, self-esteem song, wow, say that 3 times fast, but I was like, oh my god, like, I've been living it, like, what the hell. So yeah, ever since then, it does have this really kind of like special, like, personal quality to it. So I appreciate you indulging me for that anecdote. Do let me know what you think of the tune. Let me know what you think of the album. I'd like to react to some more tunes on here. Killboy Powerhead is a tune I've always liked. You know, Bad Habit is, I think, a tune that was very popular among some of my friends back in the day. But yeah, bottom line, more to come from this album. More to come from Ignition too. You know, still some songs I'd like to do on that album. Right now, I think those are the only 2 Offspring albums I had. As I said, or I have. As I mentioned, I'm not, like, I didn't follow their career, like, at length. It was more like those 2 albums, and then again, by the time you get to the late 90s, not only am I following some other bands in more detail, but I was beginning to DJ and, you know, get into techno and so on. So I just only had so much space in my musical life. But yeah, let me know if you think, you know, any of the albums beyond those 2 are particularly good. I would like to hear the self-titled original one again. I remember hearing it back in the day, but I never owned it. It was like a friend of mine had it. And then, like I said, I think it was like re-released later, and it had this kind of like Grim Reaper with like glowing eyes, but I don't think that was the same cover as the original. So I, like, eventually I thought there was like 2 albums, and then recently I figured out that, like, wait, oh, that's just a reissue of the first one. So in any case, let me know if you think there's something out there from their catalog outside the 2 I have worth hearing, or if there's one on those 2 albums that you'd like to shout a request for. In any case, let me know what you think. We'll see you next time. Peace.